It was a quiet December morning just weeks ago and days before Christmas. In small town New Edison, New Jersey, a young mother's life was being ended behind closed doors, far from the applause that once filled a Broadway theater. At just 25 years old, Imani Dia Smith, who once played young Nala in Disney's The Lion King, was found critically injured inside her home. This didn't happen years ago. This wasn't a distant tragedy. This happened recently. 3 weeks ago. Within hours, Imani would be pronounced dead. And what followed would spark a homicide investigation that left a 3-year-old child without his mother. Hi, I'm Holly Mae Cormier, author of Memphis, a women's fiction novel about domestic violence, coercive control, and what it takes to end a relationship with a predator before they end you. Stories like this matter to me because they're not rare and they're not random. They're warnings that we often recognize after it's too late. So long before her name appeared in police reports, Imani Dia Smith belonged to a very different world. As a child, she stood under Broadway lights, singing, dancing, performing night after night as young Nala in Disney's The Lion King. To audiences, she represented innocent talent and limitless potential. But Broadway is an intense world for children. You have strict schedules, adult expectations, and applause that fades the moment the curtain falls. Now, when Imani's run on Broadway ended in 2012, she didn't transition into Hollywood fame. She didn't chase interviews or viral relevance. She disappeared quietly. And that disappearance wasn't failure, it was privacy. But privacy can also be vulnerability. So as Imani grew older, she built a life far removed from theater programs and playbills. Imani had her whole life ahead of her. She was vivacious, loving, and a fiercely talented person, as one friend commented on her GoFundMe page. By her mid-20s, she had become a mother, raising a young son reportedly as a single parent. Now, there were no headlines about her adulthood, no public warning signs, no social media breakdowns. Whatever struggles existed in her life existed off camera. And that's what makes stories like this so difficult, because when no one's watching, danger doesn't announce itself. Now, at some point after her child was born, she entered a relationship with a much older guy. He was 10 years older than her. And this would become central to her death. Police are not releasing any details right now. It is so early in the investigation that we don't know the history of their relationship. We don't even know if this man is the father of her 3-year-old son. On the morning of December 21st, 2025, she was home with her young son. At some point in the morning, violence escalated. Police have confirmed that she suffered multiple stab wounds. The exact sequence of events have not been released, but we do know that at 9:18 a.m., 911 was called. First responders arrived to Imani's home to find her severely injured. She was rushed to Robert Wood University Hospital, and despite emergency efforts by paramedics and doctors, Imani was pronounced dead in hospital shortly after arriving. She was 25 years old. No final statements, no recorded goodbyes, just silence. So soon after her death, that night, actually, so this happened in the morning. By evening, they took in 35-year-old Jordan Jackson D. Small. So prosecutors did let the media know that he is known to the victim. He is her boyfriend. He was not a stranger. He was charged with first-degree murder, weapons offenses, endangering the welfare of a child. That's Imani's son. That final charge changed everything. Imani was not only a former child star who acted on Broadway, but she was a mother to a young child, a 3-year-old boy. Now, authorities have not confirmed that her son witnessed the violence, But the charge alone, endangering a child, suggests that he was there and he did witness this act of violence that ended his mother's life. That reality is just devastating. His home became a crime scene. A child lost his mother, and a life ended where it should have been in the safest environment. So, as more information has emerged, one piece of information has stopped people cold. According to publicly available report, the man charged in Imani's death is 6 foot 6 inches tall, and he reportedly weighs 345 pounds. Imani, by contrast, is 4'10" and roughly 90 pounds. The physical disparity alone between this couple paints a disturbing picture, and it raises serious questions about power, vulnerability, and what happens when violence erupts behind closed doors. Imani's aunt addressed the case publicly online, confirming the identity of the man charged as Imani's boyfriend, Jordan, and she expressed her family's grief, writing, "Our family is heartbroken and devastated. Thank you all for your thoughtful comments. Keep us in your prayers as we continue to work our way through this travesty." And yes, that's the guy. Her words were brief, but heavy, because behind every headline is a family now living with a loss that cannot be undone. And there's also lots of regret on families who lose a loved one to domestic violence, thinking that maybe they ignored the signs. Maybe they could have did more. So the aftermath in this case and unanswered questions are, in the days that followed, details were scarce. It's 3 weeks later and not much has been reported outside of the initial details that were available just a couple days after this happening. There's no confirmed motive, no explanation as to what led to the escalation. And that absence of information is quite common in domestic violence cases, but it leaves behind painful questions. Were there warning signs that no one saw? Was help ever close but never reached? Could an intervention have changed the outcome? Imani's family has launched a GoFundMe page to cover funeral expenses for Imani, crime scene cleanup for the home that the family is going to be raising the little boy in. And of course, raising Imani's son. He's 3 years old. He is going to need therapy after witnessing what he saw. And also just the cost of raising him. He's only 3, so family has a good 15 years of raising this child without his mom. So Imani Dia Smith's story doesn't fit neatly into celebrity tragedy narratives. She wasn't famous when she died. She wasn't protected by public attention. She was a young mother, a young woman, a former child star whose life unfolded mostly unseen. And her death reminds us of something deeply uncomfortable. Privacy does not equal peace. And silence does not mean that everything is okay. If this story left you unsettled, it's because it should. Because the most haunting tragedies don't always happen on stage. They happen quietly behind closed doors where no audience is watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for honoring Imani's story with me. I will put the links in the description for her GoFundMe page. And I hope this story made you think, made you reflect, and made you hug those that you hold dear a little bit closer. I'm Holly May Cormier. Thank you.